chasing versus communicating. Uh, so I think chasing versus communicating. So I think there's definitely a somewhat of a confusion as to what is what. I think a lot of times funny because there's so many outlets and ways for people to communicate better than any time in human history as we know it, right? And of communicators, you know what I mean, of all time. And we have so many outlets and ways to communicate. Yet it's probably the worst communicative communicative generation of all time. For a number of reasons, and it's not just one reason as to specifically why that's the case, in my opinion. But um, the way we communicate a lot of times is not in the most uh, the best way, so to speak. And so um, I think when it comes to chasing, uh, quote unquote, like if I had to bring context to that, what chasing is, just from my point of view, um, I think a lot of people get somewhat of like a validation or self esteem when people are like constantly, like, I guess, initiating some kind of conversation with them or, talking to them or whatever, type of thing. And, that's chasing, you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times some people like that. A lot of times girls will like that because of the esteem that they get from someone trying to always, I guess, talk to them or communicate with them, or whatever the case may be. And they're not really communicating back, and so it creates this whole chasing concept that I think a lot of people, like I said, they're fine with that because they get somewhat of an esteem boost from it. Somebody like myself who is geared towards communicating and just talking, stuff like that, for understanding, not just talking to talk or talk to get some kind of attention or something like that. Uh, it's a lot of what people would consider to be chasing is just communicating. Like I'll send a message to somebody, text message or something like that, and I guess keep on initiating conversation. Then they'll say something. Then they want me to keep on, and that's what creates the chasing complex. When you just communicating, you say something, I'll say something back, and I'll respond back, and you know what I'm saying. That creates that healthy dialogue between two individuals. When you have that back and forth of exchange, to communication and stuff like that. I understand that unfortunately is kind of like, I guess, considered healthy or good. Like it's kind of, this is society living very backwards in a lot of ways, where when you it's like when you do stuff that's like makes sense or healthy or whatever the case may be, it's like you're bad or you're weird or something like that. But it's for sheer communication. Um, I pride myself in being a good communicator. I try to convey my messages well so people can understand where I'm coming from and what I'm saying. Um, and sometimes you know, they take it in. Sometimes they don't. Some people, a lot of times, sometimes they don't. They don't say nothing. Some people do. You know what I'm saying? And so, for me, it's just finding people who are good communicators. You know what I'm saying? I don't really wallow too much in people not texting me back or going ghost or whatever the case may be, because for me, it's just kind of like, okay, well, you're just not somebody that I can communicate with. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like a rocket science, especially if it's some a girl I may, let's say, hypothetically find attractive. Attraction confirmation was already, I guess, confirmed. With obviously the exchanging of contact and everything else like that. Now it's just about communication. Just being a communicator. Even if, let's say, you're not quote unquote interested or something like that, or whatever the case may be, you can just say that. And I think oftentimes, a lot of times girls will say, "Oh, well, I'm just trying to be nice and trying to show that I'm not trying to be rude." And it's like, not saying anything or not giving any explanation is even ruder than giving the explanation and just being transparent and honest about how you really feel. Because people will definitely generally tend to respect you more and appreciate you more if you can just be, um, honest with them, because people need to know where how to moving forward. So you give no explanation, especially a lot of times you hear girls will give out their numbers and stuff like that, and at the time they'll be we presume like they're interested in you or whatever the case may be, and then you the guy will reach out and then we'll hear anything from him, or maybe it'll be a text message, and then after that it'll be nothing. It's like, well, why did you even go about communicating, the time wasted, time spent exchanging information, all that, if you knew you wasn't gonna, communicate well, you wasn't gonna, I guess you didn't take it serious or whatever the case may be. Like, why even waste people's time if that's what you knew you was gonna do? That's even worse. You were better off just from the get go, just communicating from the jump, like, hey, appreciate you, um, you know, approaching me or whatever the case may be, but I'm at this time not really interested, or I got a situation already going on and stuff like that, and just say what it is, instead of playing the little mind games, like the manipulative mental games that a lot of times that not just women but guys do the same. But especially, I'm obviously a heterosexual man, so I deal with the feminine. It gets kind of annoying. You know what I mean? When it's just like the poor communication is just like, it kind of already kind of lowers your value as a woman. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think you ask most people, they would definitely respect if male or female was just upfront and honest. It doesn't have to be in a disrespectful way, because people always want to associate being honest and upfront in a disrespectful way. Like that's the only, I mean, that's some people's only time when they want to be honest about things when they get disrespectful. You don't have to be that way to just be upfront and honest about what your situation is and your life is and how you feel. You can be respectful um, and not disrespectful when it comes to just expressing how you feel, what the situation is. Um, it would avoid so much wasting of time if people would just be upfront about it. Girls, if a guy approaches you and he's obviously interested, he sees some sort of good qualities about you. So I don't know why it'd even be a bad thing, but just be upfront. If you know that you're not going to communicate things further or you're not going to move things forward with this guy, don't give him your number. Don't give him your Instagram. Okay? Because I guess that's another thing that people would do as, I don't know, I guess for fanfare or something like that. I'll give you my Instagram, and then there's no communication. It's just, I guess, for trying to boost your followers, get some kind of attention, the case be. You know what I mean? Just from right there, like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay, not, interested, or I got something going on right now. I appreciate you for, reaching out. Cool. Boom. Move forward. That's it. You know what I'm saying? That would be just just communicating. You know what I'm saying? But that unfortunately that would take some maturity, which unfortunately a lot of people don't tend to have. Um, a lot of the times, especially in this day and age, um, maturity, you know what I'm saying? And so this is just communicating. You know what I'm saying? So many, I mean, it's so many relationships and people, you know, that between me and them, you know what I'm saying, like have just in a lot of ways been, if you have to say, lost or, you know, just kind of dwindled because of just poor communication. Um, communication. Relationships to me is all about communication, all communication. If you exhibit poor communication, then the relationship isn't gonna be, um, it's not gonna be, it's not gonna be substantial. It's not gonna sustain itself. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what I've noticed. Like, yeah. So hopefully you can get more towards the communicating, you know, where we can get to a point where we can just communicate with each other effectively so we can be on the same page versus this ego driven chasing, wanting you to flatter me with all sorts of, I guess, attention and compliments and stuff like that so I can feel some kind of self-worth. So that's really all it comes down to when it comes to this whole chasing dynamic and stuff like that.